after the Tennessee Titans owner took a private jet to meet with Cam Ward. It's clear he's the quarterback of the future, but it's also clear he's the biggest X factor in 2025. That and more on today's edition of Locked On Titans.
You are Locked On Titans, your daily Tennessee Titans podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to the Locked On Titans podcast. I am your host, Tyler Rowland. Titans fans, today's edition of the Locked On Titans podcast is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. On today's show, we're going to take a look at some superlatives of the offseason so far and looking forward to 2025. Who will be the Titans' biggest X factor on offense? Who is in a make-or-break year? Who will take the biggest leap this year? Who will be the biggest surprise, the biggest disappointment? Again, we're going to focus on the offensive side of the ball, and then on tomorrow's show, we're going to do the defensive side of the ball. But before we dive in, I do want to thank you for making Locked On Titans your first listen each and every day. Remember, Monday through Friday, Tennessee Titans content all year round, always for free. Make sure that you get subscribed, stay subscribed. It's your team every day. Speaking of every day, shout out to my everydayers out there tuning in Monday through Friday. Couldn't do it without you guys. If you aren't an everydayer, you need to be one, because again, tomorrow we're going to do the defensive stuff. And then next week, we're starting our 2025 Locked On Titans NFL Draft preview, where I go over 180 to 200 NFL draft prospects at every single position. With that being said, though, I do want to dive into the X factor for the Tennessee Titans, and it is clearly going to be Cam Ward. Quite frankly, this is the same conversation that we had for most of the offseason last year. Will Levis will be the X factor, and guess what? Will Levis played poorly, and it ruined the Titans season. So, indeed, Will Levis was the X factor. And now Cam Ward is going to be the X factor. If Cam Ward comes out and has a poor rookie season, the Titans are probably not going to be a very good team. Brian Callahan's probably going to get fired. If Cam Ward comes out and has a pretty good season for a rookie, then the Tennessee Titans will likely be a pretty decent team. I'm thinking if Cam Ward does not have a good year, the Titans win about 3 to 5 games. If Cam Ward does have a good year, Titans will probably win 6 to 8 games. I would imagine. I think that's absolutely possible with a good performance from Cam Ward. So his performance at quarterback and how the Titans support him is going to be the X factor for the entire season. We are back in the same exact boat that we were in last year, where what happens with Cam Ward this year is all that matters. And I know some of you are saying right now, Tyler, you keep saying Cam Ward, talking about Cam Ward. You don't know that he's going to be the pick yet. They could still stop. I've said it for weeks now. If you didn't believe me then maybe you'll believe me now when I tell you that Adam Schefter from ESPN mentioned that the Tennessee Titans owner, Amy Adams Strunk, went to Miami's pro day to meet with Cam Ward. Easton Freeze from A to Z Sports also reported that Amy Adams Strunk took the visit there, met with Cam Ward, the private jet, all of that. Easton said in his recent article, quote, then for his private workout, every team official returned with one very notable addition. Controlling owner Amy Adams Strunk. She went down to meet the player she plans to soon root for as the face of the franchise. NFL owners don't typically make it a habit of meeting with prospects ahead of the draft unless they expect to take them. Her trip and introduction to Cam went very well. So Schefter, a national reporter, is reporting that the Titans owner went and met with Cam Ward at the private workout. Easton Freeze, a local reporter, is reporting that Amy Adams Strunk flew down to meet with Cam Ward. And I had someone point out to me that the Cleveland Browns owner, Jimmy Haslam, met with Sam Darnold before that draft, where they ultimately picked Baker Mayfield. Okay, great. But what I would also mention here, and it's something that my guy on Twitter, the Russ, said, this is particularly notable in Amy Adams Strunk case because she is not a hands-on owner compared to guys like Jimmy Haslam or Jerry Jones. If she's making the trip, there's a significant purpose behind it. And that is the best way to put it. Fully agree with that. Amy Adams Strunk is not the type of owner that wants to interfere and meddle and all this stuff, guys. That's just not what she wants to do. She doesn't want to have to do that. She wants the football people to handle the football stuff. If she is getting on her private jet and flying down to Miami to meet Cam Ward personally, they're taking Cam Ward, guys. They're taking Cam Ward. Not only that, but Shedeur Sanders' private workout is on Monday. Shedeur Sanders' pro day is on Friday. Brian Callahan, Chad Brinker, not even going to the pro day. Amy Adams Strunk is not going to make a visit with Shedeur Sanders. Easton Freeze confirmed that earlier. He retweeted my tweet and said no. So I don't know what other information you would need to feel confident that the Titans are picking Cam Ward, or what information you would need to understand that that's what's happening. But that is 100% where we're at. And I would further double down for you and say that Brian Callahan spoke with Kevin Clark, I believe, who works for the Ringer. No, he works for ESPN now. Kevin Clark. And Brian Callahan said that he went back and watched his interviews with rookie Joe Burrow, like during the draft process. And he said it was a reminder for him of how they approached Joe Burrow's rookie year, the game plans that they set up for him, how much information they gave him, how they operated, how they taught the offense to him, what order, what pace. He said he went back and looked at all that stuff to remind himself what they did. Why would he do that? Because they're taking a quarterback number 1 overall, just like the Bengals did Joe Burrow, and he needs to refresh himself on what the plan was that they went through with rookie Joe Burrow so that he can use that plan for rookie Cam Ward. Guys, we can talk about the words that we hear from the Titans all we want, but the actions, more than anything, clearly tell us that the Tennessee Titans are taking Cam Ward. And Cam Ward is the X factor going into next year. Now, some other players that I think are going to be critical. Which player for the Titans is in a make or break season? There were a few options that I could have gone with, but I went with Peter Skoronski. So look, Pete played well last year. He was one of the best pass blocking guards in the NFL. But I wouldn't say that Peter Skoronski played to a level where I would say, oh, he's going to be an all-pro next year. He was just good. He was a good guard. And the thing is, when you take a guard number 11 overall, you expect better than just good. Like right now, I don't think the Titans would re-sign Peter Skoronski after his rookie deal based on what he's done so far. I think you could get the level of play that you're getting from Peter Skoronski with a mid-round rookie, or you could sign a veteran who's a solid player. Like Kevin Zeitler was a better player last year than Peter Skoronski. So rather than pay Peter Skoronski $15 million a year like Will Fries just got, or Freeze, whatever his name is, rather than pay that sort of level of money to a guard, which is what Peter Skoronski would likely want to command, you'd be better off getting another Kevin Zeitler. You know what I mean? So to me, it's not make or break for, is Peter Skoronski going to be a starter in the NFL? Is Peter Skoronski a good player? It's make or break of, is Peter Skoronski going to be worth the first-round pick the Titans spent on? Right now, I don't think you can say definitively that's a yes. He was worth it. So to me, this third season, the Titans are going to have a better offensive line around him. He's going to be in his third year. He's had the opportunity to build strength. He's had the opportunity to get accustomed to playing guard. This is a make or break year for whether Peter Skoronski is going to be a difference-making offensive lineman or not. Right now, he is not. He's good, but he's not first-round, 11th pick, top 5 guard in the NFL like we were hoping. So to me, this is a make or break season for Peter Skoronski, and whether he's just going to be a good starting player or whether he's going to be a blue chip guard in the NFL. It's time to show it right now. And the Titans are going to have to make a decision on his 5th-year option soon. So it's time to step up. It's time to make it happen. But with that being said, who's going to take a leap this year? Who needs to bounce back? Who's going to be a surprise contributor? Who's going to disappoint this year? I'm going to go over all of those answers. Excited to see your guys' answers down below in the comments, or hit me up on Twitter at TicTacTitans and let me know. Today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Look, the college basketball tournament is coming to a close, but you still have time to watch your favorite team live, feel the energy of the crowd, witness the unforgettable moments. There is nothing like experiencing a big game in person, and getting tickets to those big games shouldn't be stressful. And that's where Gametime comes in, making it easier than ever to grab last-minute seats at unbeatable prices. I buy all my tickets on Gametime. They have the best features. They have Gametime Picks, which brings the best deals on tickets directly to you. It's going to save you a ton of time. They have a panoramic view from your seat so you know what you're going to be looking at before you buy. No surprise fees at checkout. And they have a lowest price guarantee so you can book with total confidence. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, use the code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. That's LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off. Download the Gametime app today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Titans fans, let's continue today's edition of the Locked On Titans podcast. We're doing some all-season superlatives right now, just as the roster stands. Cam Ward is the X factor for the Titans this season, no matter what. Peter Skoronski is in a make-or-break year for the trajectory of his career. But now I want to look at some other things, and I want to look at who needs to take a leap for the Titans and who needs to bounce back this year for the Tennessee Titans. Before we get into it, I do want to thank you again for making the Locked On Titans podcast your first listen each and every day, Monday through Friday. Tennessee Titans content all year round, always for free. Make sure that you get subscribed, stay subscribed. It's your team every day. But my take a leap name is J.C. Latham. J.C. Latham has to take the leap for the Tennessee Titans. And again, we talked about it with Peter Skoronski. But J.C. Latham was taken with the number 7 overall pick. If you're taken as a top 10 offensive tackle, you should be one of the best offensive tackles in the NFL. You can't just be good. You got to be great. That's why I took you with a top 10 pick. You know what I mean? Like that has to happen, especially a guy like Olu Fashanu. Looked pretty good for the Jets at the end of the year. Talise Fuaga had good moments while dealing with injury. We still have to see Troy Fautanu as well. Joe Alt was phenomenal in year one. So a really good tackle class last year with a lot of good tackles in it. J.C. Latham has to prove that, he should have been picked higher than all those guys. And I think something that will obviously contribute to that is him going back to right tackle. A lot of people looking at J.C. Latham coming out of the draft said, hey, Latham is a right tackle. He's not a guy who can play at left tackle. He doesn't have the natural athleticism that you need to play left tackle. And it's hilarious to me that some people will argue right tackle is just as important as left tackle. Right tackle is just as important as left tackle. But there's no difference. You got to blah, blah, blah. But then they move J.C. Latham and, other people in the NFL who are scouts who get paid to scout players say, well, he's more of a right tackle. Well, if left tackle and right tackle are exactly the same, then why would anybody ever say that? It's because they're not exactly the same. And protecting the blind side of the quarterback requires better pass protection than the front side of the quarterback. And that will always be the case. So left tackle will always inherently have a little bit more value than right tackle because most quarterbacks are right-handed. So with that in mind, though, if J.C. Latham is going into year 2, and in theory, he should take a big leap from year 1 to year 2 anyways, because instead of spending his offseason training for, the draft process, he could spend his offseason working on football. And Brian Callahan said earlier in the week that J.C. Latham was, quote, ready to roll at right tackle. He's receptive. He knows, blah, blah, blah. But the Titans need J.C. Latham to turn into a Penei Sewell level player. That's what they need. He needs to be a physical force. He needs to be a dominant player. J.C. Latham needs to be I believe it was Brian Callahan, but I heard a coach, and I think it was Callahan again, talk earlier this offseason about how you need 7 difference makers on your team. That's what you need. 7. One of them probably needs to be your quarterback. And then 3 on defense, 3 on offense. J.C. Latham needs to be one of those difference makers. He needs to be a dominant, shutdown right tackle that can move bodies in the run game and can lock you down by himself on his side of the ball. That's what he needs to be. So will he be that? Obviously, I can't know for certain. It's just a guess. It's a prediction for me at this point. And quite honestly, I mean, Jesus could make predictions and still get majority of them wrong. That's just the way that the world is. You never know what's going to happen. But if you're asking me who's the guy who's going to take a leap for the Tennessee Titans offense this year, it is J.C. Latham. Year or two, moving back to right tackle, having Kevin Zeitler next to him, I think J.C. Latham is going to take a massive leap this year. Now, not necessarily a leap, but a guy that has to bounce back this year. It's Tyjae Spears. This is a big season for Tyjae Spears. Great rookie year, obviously. Played all 17 games. All 17 games. 453 rushing yards, 2 touchdowns. Caught 385 receiving yards and a touchdown. That's a great season for a rookie running back. We're talking about 900 total yards, or 838 to be exact, and 3 touchdowns. That's a really good year for a mid-round rookie playing behind Derrick Henry. Keep that in mind. But last year, only 12 games, 312 yards. His average per carry went down from 4.5 to 3.7. Receiving yards, 224 on 30 catches, 22 less catches. He just needs to be available. Tyjae Spears is a really good complimentary back. Like, no matter who is the lead back. But here's the question. If Tyjae Spears wants to be a part of, this is year 3 for Tyjae Spears. I think the reality is he's only going to be on the team for this upcoming year and the next year. You just need to cycle through mid-round running backs. Draft another Tyjae Spears. He's not special enough to where you can't replace him in the NFL draft. So that's why I continue to say I wouldn't be shocked if the Titans drafted a running back this year, and maybe even kind of high. If the Titans were to execute a trade down, I could see them going wide receiver and then running back in round 3. Tony Pollard cannot handle the amount of carries that he was given last year, another season. He is a committee back, maybe the lead committee back, but he's a committee back. He can't carry the ball like Derrick Henry 300 times a year. He's going to break down, and we saw Tony Pollard break down at the end of last year because Tyjae Spears was injured for a lot of the year. So with Tyjae Spears and his health, Tony Pollard breaking down naturally as most normal running backs do around his age, the Titans need a running back. And for Tyjae Spears, if he doesn't bounce back and show that he can stay on the field, the Titans might need 2 running backs by this time next year. So Tyjae Spears looks like a weapon, but he needs to bounce back this year and prove that he can stay on the field. But now I want to talk about a guy who I think could make a surprise contribution and a guy who probably going to end up disappointing you. Titans fans, let's cap off today's edition of the Locked On Titans podcast. Before we do want to thank you again for making Locked On Titans your first listen each and every day. For your second listen, check out Locked On NFL Draft. Guys, it's draft season. We're deep and heavy into draft season. And if you want to get caught up on all of the draft stuff that you possibly can, you got to check out Locked On NFL Draft. And as another reminder, we start our Locked On Titans NFL Draft preview series next week. So I'm going to devote a whole entire day probably to Cam Ward and Shedeur Sanders. And then we'll probably talk about, I'll probably do like Shedeur Sanders. I'll do a full day on Cam Ward, and then I'll do Shedeur Sanders to start an episode and all the other quarterbacks after that in the final 2 We'll hit running backs, wide receivers, every position. I'll go day 1 guys, day 2 guys, day 3 guys, so you're acquainted with everybody in the pockets where the Titans could get them. But with that being said, to cap off today's episode, and remember, tomorrow we're doing the defense, a guy who I think could be a surprise contributor is Bryce Oliver. Now, I don't think that Bryce Oliver is a starting level wide receiver. Bryce Oliver should not be wide receiver 1, 2, 3. But he could probably be wide receiver 4. And I think your wide receiver 4 has the ability to get you, 300 to 400 yards in a season, has the ability to catch 30 to 40 passes, a touchdown or 2, maybe 3 even. If you're NWI and you get super luck, then you could score 9 touchdowns. You know what I mean? But I think Bryce Oliver, and listen, it's not even just me thinking it. Brian Callahan literally said this. He said he thinks that Bryce Oliver can take over that Nick Westbrook-Akine role, and that is like your number 4 wide receiver. So I think Bryce Oliver, who caught 6 passes for 95 yards last year for the Titans, started to work in more at the end of the year as some of the injuries started to happen. I think Bryce Oliver can come in and be just as good as NWI. I mean, he's not going to put up 9 touchdowns, but I think for the role within the offense, he can give you everything that NWI was giving. He's going to know every position. He's going to be versatile. He's going to be reliable. Like, I think Bryce Oliver can do that. Now, some people are going to be out there and they're going to be overestimating what you should expect from Bryce Oliver. I'm calling him a surprise contributor. I think if he gets from, 300 to 400 yards, 30 catches, like that would be a massive surprise contribution from Bryce Oliver. It would be very helpful to the Tennessee Titans, especially considering I don't think there's any way that the Titans turn their wide receiver room into a really good wide receiver room at this point. Like, it's going to be a bad room no matter what they do. Even if they add Luther Burden and Amari Cooper, like, it's not a great room. Although Calvin Ridley, Amari Cooper, Luther Burden, that does sound pretty good. I actually might have changed my mind on that if they could pull that off, but I doubt that happens. But either way, it's possible. But I think Bryce Oliver can be a surprise contributor for the team. And then finally, the player most likely to disappoint, shocker, is Treylon Burks. Like, I talked about this on yesterday's show. I'm just so sick of him getting opportunities, him getting chances. I would play Bryce Oliver over Treylon Burks at this point. I think there's more optimism in Bryce Oliver. I just don't buy Treylon Burks at all. And with the ACL, not ready for training camp, like, you could just already know that Burks is going to be banged up throughout the year. He's going to have like 1 good catch in the first 2 months, and people are going to be like, oh, maybe he can. No, it's not going to happen. It's over. And I personally think that the Tennessee Titans need to cut bait with Treylon Burks and wash their hands of one of the worst trades in NFL history. Like, if the Titans want to become good again, they need to exorcise the demons of the mistakes of the past regime. And that includes finally getting rid of NPF, finally getting rid of Treylon Burks. That's what needs to happen. So, talk about who's most likely to disappoint this year. Wasn't a very difficult find. Treylon Burks is that answer. But again, curious to hear your guys' answers on tomorrow's show. We're going to do the defensive side of the ball, but that's going to do it for me today, folks. As always, I am your host, Tyler Rowland, and this was Locked On Titans.